Hey, hello, welcome everybody. How you doing? It's a wacky time. We continue. I'm currently just sat in the studio. I've been in here all day. I've been rigging up the video stuff. So we've got some equipment in, and it's meant a lot of downloading software, installing software. I'm not very good at it. I end up going down roads where I'm reading posts and forum posts, and then I'm watching YouTube videos, and I'm following one guy's advice and then backing up on myself and going down another. Oh, it's chaos. One of the most frustrating things I do. But we're making way. The video stuff's coming on. We got a switcher turn up that enables us to edit. The camera's on the move for the YouTube stuff, so really excited about that, and a little bit of a spruce up in the studio as well. So the YouTube stuff is gonna be cool. We're looking forward to doing more of it and inviting you into this little world in our little gang. We are going to be playing some more music this week in this episode. I'm really enjoying playing music. We're getting sent lots of music by people listening, demos and stuff that's well produced as well. So I'm going to play stuff each time now because I'm like I say, I'm really enjoying it, and I think the feedback's been great as well. Episode number 10, Four Brothers, a lot of fun. Again, lovely comments coming back. Thank you very much. It's a weird and wonderful time. We were just discussing it and trying to make some sense of it, and looks like some of the comments we've had back and the feedback we've had back, it's helped some people and thrown other people off. But we're all in it together, and I think we're a couple of weeks away from maybe getting back to something like normal, whatever that may be. But yeah, look after yourselves, and one another. That's all we can do, isn't it? I think a lot of learning's been happening. I think we've been looking inside and realizing life can be a bit slower, and you can have a little bit more involvement in the actual life bit and not just getting the stuff, the money, the bills, the next position, the next place, and all the rest of it. So I think that's been really positive. Okay, sponsors again. Not a lot I can do other than point you guys at these therapies and Go Deep Flotation Therapy, who have been our proud sponsors from day one. Kieran, who was on episode number 4, I think he was on. Was it number 4? Early on anyway. Lovely guy. His one of his demos was the first thing we played, actually, music-wise. So, yeah, I mean, just Google flotation therapy. It's a wonderful thing. Calm and still and relaxing and just good for you in every way you could muster and think of. If you are sat in the back garden in the sun tomorrow, have an hour reading about that, and it'll blow your mind what it does for you. It's an amazing thing, and you just feel great anyway when you've done that. You just feel great. It's lovely. And it's going to be Kieran's wife on this episode today, so I'll bring you to Annie in a moment. Our other sponsors, lincolncryolab.co.uk. Same again, just do that Google on cryotherapy. It's really wonderful. If you do sports, or you're active in the workplace, or maybe you're inactive, maybe you're sat down at an office chair and desk the whole time, maybe you're just not feeling great. Cryotherapy is a short, sharp shock to the system, and it's wonderful, and it's just so good for inflammation and stress and tension on the joints. And again, you come out of it and you get a real endorphin dump. You get a whole dopamine dump. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling, and great for your body. Just your joints and the aches and the pains and the ligaments and the whole mechanical setup of your body really, really benefits from a float and from cryotherapy. So check them out, Google them, have a look, and then when we get back in the swing, you never know. Chew is the code word, and you can get 10% off of those when we get back to it. Okay, so this guest this week is Kieran from Go Deep. This is Kieran's wife, Annie Rattigan, and she is a very interesting lady. Thoroughly enjoyed this chat. It was really nice. Annie was just really relaxed, really cool. You can tell that she's been in bands with Kieran, and she's been through the whole performance thing with music and stuff. So she was just really comfortable with the mic, and just, yeah, it was lovely, really nice. And she's, as well as being a super talented musician, as you'll find out as it unfolds in the chat, she's not so forthcoming with that. She doesn't feel so comfortable with that, but she does have a really strong sixth sense and a kind of ability to read and use her instincts with people and things and energy. And it was really interesting. She sent me I guess a reading, like a reading the night before, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't know anything about it. She was coming on the podcast the next day, and I just got this email. Well, I got a text saying, I've sent you an email reading that I've taken from, basically my feelings, my instincts, and sewed it together. And it knocked me back. As you'll hear in the podcast, it knocked me back. It was strange. I mean, because I'm neither a believer nor a disbeliever in sort of the whole kind of tarot cards and spirit recognition and reading of energy and stuff. I like to believe in anything until it's disproven, because I think that's what life is. I mean, we're walking, talking miracle machines of meat, so anything's possible. We just take everything for granted. So I definitely believe in energy. I know when I feel good around, positive energy, and I know when I feel, anxiety and fear around difficult energy. So it knocked me back, and you'll hear as we discuss in the podcast, it was a strange one. It was, I'm still not quite sure what to make of it, all this time later. So she's really, another super powerful lady that we've had on Chew the Chat podcast. We're proud of having these interesting and powerful ladies telling their stories on this podcast. It's been really, really nice and inspiring. She's a Reiki therapist, a holistic sort of practitioner, and she does her readings as well. And she's a wicked, cool girl, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to play some music that Annie and Kieran made together. This is when this is a few years back. They put a little sort of duo together. Annie's got a sort of a classical trained background, and Kieran's, as you listeners who would have heard his podcast, and for those of you who haven't, do check it out because it's really interesting. Very musically talented, really creative and exploratory minded. He's just willing to go wherever the feelings take him. But some of these tunes that they made, they reminded me of. Their duo was called Two of Mankind, and they put this together, which was interesting at a time when they were going through a lot of grief. Kieran's mum had passed away, and a lot of things were happening in their lives, and it was really nice. Myself, having done music and sort of looking in and leaning into what that must have been like for those two as they were coming through a very difficult time and singing together and making music together. And you can tell with the song titles, the songs themselves, there's a lot of healing coming through them. And it must be wonderful to, with the woman you love or the man you love, the earth partner you've chosen, to lock into music and sing together and kind of release all of that whatever it is, energy. It must be magical, and you can hear it in these songs. So I'm going to play a track called For Ether, and it reminds me a lot of bands like Honey Honey and the Civil Wars, particularly the Civil Wars, I guess. And there's a record called Barton Hollow by the Civil Wars, which actually is a big record in my life. We played it when my daughter was born in the kitchen. We specifically put it on, and the two boys listened to it a lot when we were little. And it's just this style of music. So if you like this, I will link these guys in. Two of Mankind. This is Kieran and Annie together, and it's wonderful. So without further ado, this is episode number 11 of the Chew the Chat podcast with Annie Rattigan.
Into the end we dance forever. what you deserve. I will hold my ground. Take for what you think you're worth. No longer tied or bound. Take for what you deserve. I will hold my ground. Take for what you think you're worth. No longer tied or bound. Take for what you deserve. I will hold my ground. Take for what you think you're worth. No longer tied or bound.
Welcome to Chew the Chat podcast.
Don't know. Beyond me.
How are you finding young Bobson?
Oh my god, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's actually incredible. He's so good. He's just like, I was saying to Alex, like he just sleeps for like 12 hours
Does he?
every night. Just put him down, 7:30, go straight to sleep. And then you hear him like talking to himself at about 10 to 7. He's just so cute.
How old is he now?
6 months on Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gone quick.
Yeah, really fast. Like we were talking about it the other day, and like you can see how all parents are literally just like, yeah, 1 minute they're 1, then they're 5,
Yeah.
then they're 15, then they're 30. You just see it all picking up. Oh, it's just nuts.
I just refrained from doing that then, actually, because I'm at that point now where I'm like, wow, 6 years has gone like 6 months.
Yeah,
You know, like this little person's just chatting away to me and reading signs and.
I know. Oh my god, that we've always said that as well. Like when they start talking, that's just going to be a whole different kettle of fish. I just can't even imagine having like a conversation with him and like him asking questions about the world,
Oh,
and I just don't have the answers.
It is. It's chaos. Yeah, it is. It's mad. I had a few scenarios where quite early where you think, do I tell him like what's the actual like reality of this question,
Or
or do
my
I
opinion.
give him or like do I give him a child's version of it? And that's what I've kind of gone back and forth with.
Yeah.
And it's a story I've told on another podcast, I think. But yeah, he asked me about John Lennon being here because we were listening to his music. Long story short, how is John Lennon, Daddy? Where is he? And it was like, well, he's in the whole he's dead thing. And I just went, and I've kind of adopted from that day. I've adopted the idea of like I'm just going to talk to him, like just tell it how it is. I'm not gonna kind of decorate anything or make anything sugar coated or nobody dies.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I've decided to do. I've just decided to go for it and just say, look, it is what it is. Obviously, graphic details aren't necessarily much.
Yeah, he got shot on the street and
Yeah.
no, he's not here.
I think the words I used were, the Beatles, they were really, really famous and everybody loved them, and there was a man who really, really loved them and he liked them, but he wasn't very well and he hurted him to dead. So that was that.
That's great.
Okay, Annie. Well, welcome to Chew the Chat podcast.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Annie Rattigan, you are with us. You are a psychic, a musician, a healer,
Yeah.
an all-round creative soul, aren't you?
Yeah.
Here to help the universe.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what we like. Well, I'm intrigued to find out your background, your path, the driving forces in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Childhood, what was that like for you? Where did it all begin for you?
Lincolnshire, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, born and bred. So where we live now is where my parents live and have lived there. My granny and grandpa actually lived across the road.
Oh, lovely.
So Dad's been there 60 years. So yeah, I've just always been around here really. And yeah, it was good. It's kind of simple. I was kind of a little bit of a lone ranger. Mum always said that, you know, my brother and my sister kind of just went off and, you know, would always come back and need something, whereas I would just take a book or crayons, just go sit in the garden, just do my own thing, just like being on my own. And I still do now. It's great. So yeah, it was all pretty fun, I guess.
You speak really well for a Lincolnshire lady.
Yeah,
You've got very nice pronunciations of your words, Annie.
I think. Oh
Cheers,
my
by
God.
the way, on the herbal teas.
Yeah, detox tea from
There you go.
Alex.
Cling.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I think I watched a video back of because my grandpa used to record everything on camcorder. Every single family do. So there's me and my cousins from Scotland, all the way from like 0 to 12, and it's hilarious. And after, my God, I sound crazy on it. I sound like the poshest bit. I sound like the Queen.
Really?
Yeah, when I'm like 7.
Are you? I mean, are your family well spoken? Are you?
Yes. Yeah. No, my dad's a farmer.
Okay.
He was a potato farmer, and we did have peas at one point. We also had pigs, and then he went down to potatoes, and then I hope he's not listening to this because I don't know what he does now. He was on about beans last year, some Egyptian beans.
Oh, lovely. Well, we're surrounded by Egyptian gods right now, so
I
the
know.
Egyptian energy's with us, I hope.
Yeah, so,
That's the idea.
but unfortunately I don't think any of us really picked up the farming
Right.
trait.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Any of you siblings?
Yeah, so I've got a brother that is 24, I think, and my sister is 31.
Okay, so you're slap bang in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
middle child syndrome.
Okay, and do you think you have middle child syndrome? Is that something on reflection you think, or were you just that A-OK on your own anyway and you were just doing your thing, or?
120%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and me and Kieran are exactly the same like that. Like, he is the middle as well. We've got the same age gaps with our siblings, and we were just kind of like the happy medium all the way through.
Okay, for listeners who've enjoyed episode number 4 of the Tudor Chat podcast, that was with Mr. Kieran Rattigan,
Yes.
your husband.
Yeah.
Mr. Go Deep, and you two between you. I mean, we spoke briefly at the beginning of this podcast about your little boys just comfortable and settled. Is there any wonder?
Yeah.
You know, you two are, very, very special humans, and that's a lovely environment for him to be in. So, yeah, Kieran was episode 4, beautiful, lovely. The demo that I played at the beginning of that podcast of Kieran's, he sent me 4 or 5 songs, and that one I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
wow.
There's a couple of them. Well, actually, his whole EP that he did last year, which I think was it Sam Cooke that produced it. It was amazing, and I still can't believe that nobody's heard it.
Yeah, I keep sort of sticking in a little. You need to do something with that, Kieran. But that track, I mean, so much energy in it, because Kieran's just such a sweet guy, you know. And I mean, I don't know him so well. My brother, a lot of my brothers know him better than I do. But obviously, when you have a connection like we've got some geeky things that we both share, it's like, whoa, it's quite a strong thing. But when that heavy riff and those big drums and that power comes out of him,
Yeah. I think it's just
wow.
like the whole structure of the song, like, you know, because he always says to me when he starts playing it at home, he's just like, I'm sorry, I know you've heard it 300 times. And I'm just like, no, it's fine, like, just go and do your thing. And obviously he doesn't play as much anymore since we've had Bobby in the business and everything. Before, you know, you kind of hear him sort of play this guitar riff in the living room. I was like, oh, that's nice. And then he'd be like, what do you think to this? And he'd play a bit more. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then literally within 2 weeks, he'd just disappear every night for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, fine. And then suddenly this amazing song would be created.
yeah,
And you just think, oh my God, how did you get? I think that's what I always struggle with as a musician. I never got to that point where I could never really visualise how I wanted it to sound. I think I was very quick to judge myself and go, well, on the piano it sounds rubbish, so it's going to be rubbish, so I don't want to do it. And then I just knock it off.
right.
Whereas with him, you know, you play a guitar riff, and like most musicians, oh, actually, bring in the bass there, then bring in a synth there. That would sound really nice with the snare in there. And I just didn't think like that.
Got you.
But he did, and he does. So
Yeah, when we spoke, he said about that kind of not knowing where it goes. So he knows all the mechanics, all of that side of it. You know, as you just say there, the bass will be there, 4 bars of that, then. But that muse of just sort of going, okay, right, well, that's good, and I'm not sure where it's going, but it's going to go somewhere. That bit, I love that bit. That bit's amazing. And I've also been in a situation similarly to you where, you know, friends of mine I've made music with, and Mr. Wincott, obviously, who we both know very well, who will be on this podcast in the future. One half of Dip Your Ghost and Hidden by Sound, and a wonderful teacher to the young, and an all-round good guy. You're going to meet him in a future episode. But we would do lots of recording at his place, and his wife Lou would hear. I don't know how many times she must have heard so many songs that we were doing. Bless her, and she was strong as an ox about it.
yeah.
I think she didn't quite get the surprise when it was finished.
Yeah.
Because she heard like every single stage.
I think you do, and I do with Kieran as well. And he's like, by the end of it, he's like, I know you're going to be sick of it. And I was like, no, it sounds really good.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
it does. And I think, if anything, it might almost seem like I'm disinterested in the beginning, but it's because I want that at the end as well. I want to turn around and go, oh my God, that was insane. Because if you're sat there listening to it as much as he listens to it, and it's nice as well, actually, because he kind of brings me in for a second opinion on, like, he always has this thing where he'll create something amazing in the middle of a song, and it's there, and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that was incredible, to keep that there. But then he puts it again after the chorus, and then after the middle eight, and then after the ending.
Keeps
and I'm
going
just
to
like,
the
no,
well.
you've just completely rinsed it. I was like, just leave it how it was. It was amazing. And so I just kind of keep hoisting
And he
him
trusts
back.
that. He likes that from you. Kind
I
of.
hope so.
He trusts us with that and says, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah, I think that's why he asks me. So yeah, God, I hope so.
Okay, so yeah, I know you guys, and I've asked Kieran about this, so if you're listening, Kieran, let's get these organised. I'd like to hear the stuff that you two guys did.
Oh yeah, it's on Spotify still.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll have to link me then, and I'll link it in here if you'd like other people to listen to it, because I imagine the way Kieran was talking about it, you were piano, vocals, harmonising with him, and he's obviously doing bits, and he was sat on the box, and yeah, it sounds like it would be wonderful, so I want to check that out.
It was really cool, and it was very powerful, and it was sort of just the beginning of when we were starting to read more books and, you know, watching documentaries on the world and conspiracy theories and everything. And it was just kind of, you know, when you just start opening the gate to all of that. So we had a lot to write about, and I always liked that in music. If I was going to write, I didn't want my influences to be musicians, because I knew I'd end up sounding like them.
Of course.
So I wanted my influences to be, what am I trying to say? Kind of like,
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Kind of more like speakers
Yes.
and reading books on
Yeah.
people and just kind of how they were. So not like, obviously I loved John Lennon and George Harrison, but I would rather watch the documentary about them and what they were into and how
Yes.
they learned from that, and then kind of take those teachings rather than the music itself, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I think I had a similar, off the top of my mind there, I remember I watched the Ram Dass documentary, and then I went on a real rabbit hole and Be Here Now and the whole thing, and I can remember writing bits that were just from that mindset, as opposed to any kind of, you know, sonics or anything like that, but kind of thinking, it's thinking that way about things.
Definitely. It's the way you express it. And, you know, there was a lot, I think we wrote one song called Mother, which, was it called Mother? Oh my God, I can't even remember the title of it. But it was so powerful. It was. And it's on the on that EP that we did. And that's all about Mother Earth and the damage and everything. And it was just, that one really hit me.
Did you write them together, Annie? Were you writing lyrics together? Were you structuring it together? Were you one of you bringing something to the table and then kind of top and tailing it, or was it?
I think he was always the core songwriter. I think because I never really gelled as well as him, so he's always been very connected to music, obsessive, and could create really well, whereas I never got rid of the negative, that sounds rubbish
Right.
thing. And I think because that never went, that's why my music never became anything better, or why I never had the confidence to really go for it on my own. And so he would always come to me with something on guitar and stuff, and then I'd play piano, and then we'd start singing, and then it would kind of start to flow like that. That was kind of the easiest way to do it. But the piano always just kind of gave it this extra oomph. And then he brought the drums in and stuff, and then I think when he sort of moved on to electric guitar and stuff, it just made it sound so much beefier.
Yeah,
it was
gotcha.
great. It was just, you know.
Well, I'm going to link all that in for everybody because I can't wait to hear that, and I'm sure there's people listening that will be intrigued as well. So that's awesome. So coming back to where we were, your middle child, you're cool being on your own with a book and some crayons. Where does music come in for you in your life?
It was early. I think it was 5. It might have been earlier. It might have been 4 or 3. I think my first memory is at a piano lesson. I remember my feet like sort of, you know, when they're like really dangling because you're so short, and kind of being sat there being taught one note from the other. And we always had a piano in the house as well. Did we have a piano before Granny gave me hers? I'm sure we did. Yeah, we did. Oh, I don't know actually.
Get the camcorder out.
I know. But Granny and Grandpa always had one. Obviously, they were across the road, and then she's given me her upright Bechstein now, which I have in our living room. So it was always around. And when I was at primary school, I was at Lincoln Minster, so that was quite heavy on the music. And then I went to LSST. And at that point, I was having lessons outside of LSST because I had all my teachers from Minster who I wanted to carry on with. So I did singing, I just started saxophone, and was playing piano as well. So I was doing all the grades, working my way through them. And then I think I got to year 7, and my mum and dad were like, "You need to sing in front of us." And I was like, absolutely not. And they were just like, "Okay, well, we're not going to pay for lessons unless you're going to sing." So fine, I don't want lessons anymore.
Oh.
So I did. I just scrapped it.
Really? Was it that cut and dry with your folks?
Yep. I was just
So
like,
they didn't kind of try and teeter it out of you and kind
oh,
of...
I think they would have tried. They would have been, give us a song. And I was like, no, I was just so...
Self-aware, do you think?
I was just embarrassed. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know whether I didn't feel like I sounded good. I don't know. But I just wasn't... I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, to expose yourself in some
Yeah,
way. Like
I
that.
just didn't want to do it. So I stuck at saxophone and piano. And piano was great. Piano was just constant all the way through my childhood and my teens. I just loved it. I loved the sound and I loved getting better.
How old would you have been, Annie, when you started having lessons piano-wise?
4.
Really? That young?
I think so, yeah.
And how did you feel about that? Can you remember? Because I've just got this thing in my mind where I feel like kids go to lessons, novelty wears off, and then it's like, you got piano at 6 o'clock, and fuck's sake.
Yeah, I always said, and I said to Kieran as well, like with Bobby, to push them. And I think that's why it's good to do grades, because you have to work towards
Keep striving.
them. And, doing scales at 7 o'clock every morning was literally the bane of my life.
Really?
But it all pays out in the end. And I'm really, really glad that they pushed me to practice to pass the exams, because I wouldn't play the way I did.
Right.
So, but I did find as well, kind of jumping ahead, the piano teacher I had from Minster was great. Then I had another piano teacher when I was 16 to 18 when I went to boarding school, and she was this little old lady, and it was just the way she played was just amazing. And I was like, I want to play like that. I want to sound like that. It's all classical. Like I loved classical growing up. It was just, and I loved it more and more. And when I went to boarding school, I was like obsessed with it, and I was obsessed with loads. Like film scores were my thing. I just listened to Hans Zimmer, James Newton Howard, all those guys all the time, because I found the patterns in classical music.
There's an epic pattern going on there.
Yeah,
isn't there?
Totally.
Big and sweeping and absorbing.
And you can hear, I think that's why I always really, and I guess it's the same with any music as well. I kind of really loved especially with classical music, like part of your A level in music is to listen out for different themes and to try and work out who it is, when it was. So is it Baroque, is it classical, is it romantic? Then to work out the themes, the types of instrumentation, the structure. And once you kind of generalise and work out who was kind of familiar with what, you could then get a sense of it. So now still, I remember listening to like Classic FM and I'd be like, oh, it's Tchaikovsky. Oh, it's Debussy. Because you can tell by, the same way you would with a band, and you listen to a band on Radio 1, they've got a new single, you'd be like, oh, that's blah, blah.
So you pick that style out and
Yeah.
you just know. So where did that leave you with your peers? Are all your friends listening to that kind of stuff as well? Or are you kind
No.
of like, Annie's mad?
No.
Annie's listening to...
Oh, they must have thought I
300-year-old
was so
music.
boring. Maybe I was. I don't know. But it wasn't too bad. Like LSST, nobody would have got that. And it wasn't really that big of a thing then. It was when I went for sixth form. But it was fine there because I'd done a music scholarship to get into boarding school. So I'd done that. And so when I got there, they were like, you have to join the choir if you're on a music scholar. And I was like, oh, God, I don't want to sing. And then they gave me, what did they give me? They gave me free tuition on 3 instruments. So I scrapped saxophone, I kept piano. I wanted to pick up singing again if I was going to be in the choir. And I took up drum lessons as well. But the drum lessons is just hilarious because it literally involved me and my drum teacher talking about horror stories and ghost stories for
And not
all of
picking
it.
up any sticks.
And I think he taught me Yellow by Coldplay, and that was it, which is probably
How
the
did you
easiest
find the
thing.
beat though? Did you find, because again, it's something that I feel like I've heard many times or maybe even experienced indirectly for other people, is once you learn the piano, you kind of got a blueprint for most things. Is that true or not true in your experience?
I can't listen to drums and then play drums. I have to see it on a score.
Okay.
So
that's
even when I went to
interesting.
Access and I went for a couple of lessons with Dan, and I just said to him, I was like, you're going to have to write it out because I need to visually see it to then see where, because structurally that's how I'd learn through everything else.
That's interesting.
So I wasn't a sort of listen player, and then
especially with drums. That's interesting with drums especially.
yeah, I had
Because
to.
drums is just so much of it is just that rhythm, the feel, hitting the beat.
I know those poor drum teachers
I
just
didn't
making
even-
them
you
write
know
it
what,
out.
I didn't even ever imagine seeing a score for drums.
Yeah,
to be honest.
yeah, putting them all in crotchets and quavers and rests. And,
Yes.
yeah, it must have been a nightmare.
Wow.
But yeah,
So you start playing the piano when you're really titchy,
yeah.
and have you got a natural kind of skill for it, or is it just like you just keep tapping away? Does your mum play? Does your dad play?
No, nothing. My mum played trumpet for not very long, and Dad played the bugle for not very long,
Awesome.
and that was it. So we didn't get any brass kind of pass-alongs for any of us, including me. So yeah, no, it was just me really, kind of into it. My sister did the clarinet till grade 2, then sacked it off. And Alfie didn't do anything either. So yeah, it was just me really. So I don't know. I think it was just kind of. I think when you're so young, you know it's something that you're learning to do, and you do it. And I think you don't really. You like something, but you don't really recognise that. You just recognise it when you dislike it. So I knew I didn't like singing in front of people, so I stopped. So then when I picked it up again, that was hilarious. I had a French-Canadian opera singer as a teacher at boarding school for my singing lessons, and she was just nuts. She was absolutely nuts. She said, you don't sound like this, you sound like this. And then we're just like literally scream the walls down. It was just crazy. But she taught me to sing classically, and it was a completely different shift in my vocal cords and a different way to sing, and it made it much more powerful. And I hadn't really had that, because I think when I was learning the first time, I was quite breathy and didn't really hold myself, and you know, this little French Canadian woman had you doing like almost lunges across the music room and like wheels with your arms. So I remember seeing like people
Winding
going
up the power.
Yeah, it was really bizarre, like just doing stretches with your arms and your neck and stuff. And I remember seeing all my friends go past for like hockey lessons and stuff, and I'm just there like wheeling around in this music room, just like, oh my God,
Conjuring the power from the diaphragm.
Yeah, it was nuts. But with that, I just got hooked at
That's
school.
interesting that you... So did your voice change, your speaking voice?
No.
No effects there then, but you did manage to conjure up some strength and some power and
Yeah.
kind of, I imagine, tones and maybe even keys that you didn't
Yeah,
remember.
like all the vibratos started to really take off and the power came and stuff. And I'd never really been used to that, I don't think, because I don't think I got very far with it. I think I got to grade 3. And did I get for grade 3 or grade 5 when I was younger? I can't remember. And then when I went to boarding school, I just did grade 8. And I got, what did I get? I definitely got a distinction.
Grade 8, is that like the end? That's the end grade.
That's the
isn't
last
it?
one, yeah. So I just jumped and did that.
And so we'll jump forward just a little bit and then we'll come back to the timeline. So I'm imagining you've done it the second time at boarding school, now singing in front of people?
Oh, well. So they used to do every year, they used to do this thing called cabaret, which was basically like a talent show, I guess. But they did it every year and all your parents came to watch. So the first year I did it and I was thinking about singing. And I'd been in both choirs at this point. I was having singing lessons, it was coming to the end of the year and I was like, okay, I should do this. So I said to one of my friends, I was like, I'm only going to do this if you do it with me. And she didn't really sing either. So we did First Cut's the Deepest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was the first time I sang in front of my parents.
Any particular version you picked out for that? Because there's quite a few
I think it was
versions, isn't
Sheryl Crow.
Sheryl Crow's, yeah.
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 It's
Because
just-
Rod Stewart's.
Yeah, he did it. But yeah, we just did that. And then that was a huge milestone, I guess, because once I'd done that, I then felt better about singing in front of them.
Do you feel like you've made that transition then? Do you feel like you've beat that demon of whatever it was
Yeah.
that stopped you?
And I think that was way later. I think I'll always find it, I don't want to say awkward, but it kind of is a little bit more awkward if you're sat in a really small room doing an acoustic gig and there's 10 people that you know. I'd rather sing in front of 100 people I don't know.
Mm.
And I've found that with music a lot. Like if it was a room full of people I didn't know, I'd be like,
And it's strange because I imagine you must be really good. So it's not like you're kind of, the world I come from, we kind of think we're good and we're brazen, and you can be ignorant to the fact that you're not good
Yeah.
and kind of somehow wing it.
yeah.
And it's strange that you're probably technically not far off perfect, sounding beautiful, but really kind of,
Yeah. I don't know.
anxious about it.
I don't know what it was. I always felt comfortable, and I don't know whether it's because when I went back into singing, I did all the choirs, so that's why I always felt more comfortable singing with other people. So actually, when I did start doing gigs and stuff in Lincoln when I was 18, I always wanted to sing with other girls and do harmonies because that's what I'd learned at school. So at Repton, I'd done the chapel choir, so I became head chorister of that. Then I was doing chamber choir, which is like still kind of churchy English songs. Then they made like an elite group, I guess, for like all the people that did singing at school, and they named us the Reptiles,
The reptiles.
which I'm not proud of.
Reptilians.
Yeah, it was
which you learn much
awful.
later.
It's just like, oh God, are you serious? And I just remember sort of rolling our eyes like, oh God. And then they used to do competitions all the time as well at school. So I remember in the last year, I won the popular song. I didn't win the classical one, which really annoyed me. But yeah, I won the popular song. And then we had to do house unison and house harmony. And because we were all in boarding houses, there was 10 boarding houses. So there was 6 boy boarding houses and 6 girl boarding houses. So for house unison, it was all the years of school in your boarding house got together and sang a song, which was epic. It was amazing. And then house harmony was you take sort of the people that do actually sing in your house and you pick a song and you do a harmony version of it. So in the last year I was doing that and I was in charge of it, and I did from Bambi Drip, drip, drop
Okay.
the Lake Bush out.
Oh,
That one.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So I wrote, I think it was 4-part harmony to it, and just did my own version of it, and we won.
And so, how is it teaching people certain harmonies like fifths and God knows what? And no, it's not there; it's here.
It depends whether, I don't know. I guess
Are you cherry picking these people? Have you got like a?
I mean, they
master
were
plan?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're halfway there.
They
then,
were
right?
good, and they all had lessons, and they were probably all in choir as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that weren't, you just kind of put them with the people that were, and just said, just sing what they're
Yeah,
singing.
just follow suit. kind of thing.
So that kind of almost was a little bit more challenging when I left, because I wasn't used to people just not looking. Like, I got so used to being in choir and, you know, going the soprano today because there's not enough people. Okay, so you just sight read what it was and just sing it, and you get it. And because you're doing it so often, it was so normal to me to just look at a piece of music and be able to know what the notes were. And it was the same. So, we don't have any altos today, so can you go in the alto? Yeah, okay. So then you just switch. And I remember, like, in some songs during choir, I'd have to switch between the parts and stuff, and it was just normal. I remember going to the Christmas Carol service at Lincoln, at the cathedral on Christmas Eve one year. I just kept accidentally just going up to the descant for all the carols. I was like, what am I doing? I'm not in the choir here. I can't do that. And
It's ingrained. isn't
yeah, like all my voice just wanted to jump straight up and do this other part, and I was like, no, that's not what you're here for. You can't do this.
it? Oh wow, that was interesting. Then, so there's this part here that's like bursting through
Yeah,
as well.
just like, yeah, let me take over. I got this.
Okay, well, let's take us back then. So, you're middle child.
Mm-hmm.
You're 4 or 5 years old. You're having piano lessons. It's not out of the ordinary for you to just be on your own and be
Yeah.
sketching and drawing and just in a little dream world of your own. What's the dynamics with you and your siblings and your mum and dad? Do you get on with everybody cool? Is there any kind of
Me and my sister were actually, me and my sister did not like each other for a long time, and that usually the fights were always about clothes.
and how many years between you?
2.
2. So it's
So-
pretty close then.
So it was very close, but we moved to LSST from Minster, and neither of us wanted to, but we had to financially. So we did move there. She didn't want to go, I didn't want to go. So it was just weird. Like, after that, we just,
stuck together.
we just kind of started getting on really well, and we were
Oh,
fine
that's
after
nice.
that.
And are you similar girls? Was
No.
she listening to classical music?
No, we are polar opposite. We could still get on really well today, and
Uh-huh.
she was in London from 18 to about 28, 29, and she's just moved back in the past year. So I see her every week. She's got a little girl as well, so we spend a lot of time together with the kids and stuff now, which is really nice.
That's nice.
But yeah, no, we've always been close. And then my brother,
What kind of a big sister are you then, Annie, to your brother?
probably not a very good one if he said this. I don't know. I mean, we're fine. Him and my older sister don't get on at all, but I just take him with a pinch of salt. It's fine. He's all right.
And what about mum and dad then? So dad's obviously working a lot, I guess. He's farming. He's doing long days. And
Yeah, dad's farmer. Mum is still a probation officer, so she works part-time at Lincoln Probation now. She's been in probation for about 20 years, so she did a degree. I can't remember what degree it was. It was either criminology or psychology. I can't remember. She'll kill me. Never mind. But she did that when she first started, because she wanted to be a qualified one. So she did that. So yeah, they're both still working, and Dad's still on the farm. And yeah, so with them, it's always been fine. I just kind of was never really the child to kind of go against them.
Yeah.
Like, I remember having a friend around one night, and I can't remember what we'd done, but we were just both like quite hormonal and emotional about a boy. And I think we were about 19, and it was a night when everyone went out in Lincoln. And my mum was like, why don't you just stay here tonight, have a bottle of wine and stuff, and just chill out here. And I was like, yeah, it does sound really nice, actually. And then my friend was just like, we're going to go out, aren't we? I was like, no. And she was like, why not? She's like, don't you like going against your parents? And I was like, No, I like them. Like, I listen to
How
them.
old would you have been then, Annie?
Oh, 19.
19. So your mum's, why don't you chill here and have a bottle of wine and have some nice food, and that to you, I mean, that's a nice, healthy place to be in at that age.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of kids, like your friend there, whether they know it or not know it, or it's conscious or subconscious, and often it's just because mum and dad don't really get you
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, on the bigger spectrum of things, I probably am I least relate to all of them, but I probably get on the best with all of them, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I'm totally different. Like, what I'm doing now, all the psychic stuff and the mediumship and the healing and stuff like it, like they're really good. They're really supportive. Like, I noticed the other day, like, Dad had put that he was interested in an energy healing workshop I was doing.
Oh,
I was
that's
just
nice.
like, oh, that's sweet. Like, he's like, they've always been good in whatever we do. They support us, and Dad's great, and Kieran always sends Dad his tracks, and
Oh,
Dad's
that's
always like,
nice.
sounds great. I think you should turn the vocals up a bit more.
Yeah.
And Kieran's like, yeah, okay, Richard. it's really sweet. So they are really good like that, and they always have been, and
And Kieran's mum, as the podcast, we delved into it with Kieran's mum being a singer as well.
Yeah.
And having that operatic kind of powerhouse voice. And
Yeah, she was amazing. I
Wow.
was lucky enough to spend about 3 years with her.
Mhm.
And we went to a couple of her gigs. And it was just nuts. Like, she did, was it Nesse Dorman? Is that the word?
Oh.
And she just absolutely nailed it every time. Like, I think I heard it about 3 times when she did it. And it was just, never heard anything like it.
And what was she like with her confidence for taking the stage and performance in front of people?
Yeah, she was very thespian,
Yeah.
but just owned it. Absolutely owned it, and just kind of, how like with theatre and you kind of, and even with classical music, you're telling a story when you sing it, so you're kind of acting it out and hand gestures, and you can tell all the emotions of whatever's going in the song, even though it's in German. And she was very good at that. She could do all of that, and it was great. And she was always very, what's the word? If you're not, you never really know that you're good, or
Okay.
people tell you you're good, but you kind of brush it off.
So there's a humility kind of, almost like a...
I don't know what I know the
Isn't
word.
that strange though? But like you, does she rub off on you in any way when you watch her perform? Do you think, bloody hell, see, I can do that, I can do this, and it's okay, and
Yeah,
she's always really happy and bouncy about it, and
yeah, totally. And I think we did. It was really weird actually, because we organised to do a concert together in the October in the year that she passed, and she passed in August. So in October we'd arranged this concert together, and I was going to sing before her, and then she was going to sing after us. Because as well, I wanted to hear like all the sort of older generation in my villages around me and stuff. They would have absolutely loved her. So I wanted her to sing there too. So we kind of organised for that, and yeah, she was very switched on with it all, and yeah, she was really good. I think we just almost kind of wish she did more with it, because she would have been mega.
What a lovely thing to have shared, though. That is, it's really nice, and a poignant thing that you share, you two guys, Kieran and yourself. The fact you've got these kind of crossovers of,
Yeah,
that's lovely.
yeah, it was
Isn't it?
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you've grown up happy, really nice, balanced, responsible relationship with your folks. Really.
yeah.
You mentioned the middle child syndrome. Did you feel was there any kind of tipping of the scales with the oldest, the youngest in any way? I mean, was your brother a tearaway and he had to have more kind of attention, or were you ever aware of any of that, or were you just literally, it's all good?
We're all very different, and I think, if my sister would have moments, she would come to me and we'd talk about it. If my mum was struggling with something, we'd talk about it. Dad just kind of plodded off and went fishing. That was fine, still does. That's his way of having a release, I guess. Alfie is totally different to us, and and it can be frustrating at times, that you know, the way he is and stuff. And I think especially with us having kids, I didn't know whether that would kind of change, but at the same time he's young, so he's not really gonna, I think he's just gonna grow into himself.
Got you.
And I think that just takes time and patience to just sit back and go, oh, it's just a phase, you know, grow out of it and stuff. So yeah, I think so.
But you're pretty solid then. You're just in a pretty healthy place growing up. You know, balanced, mum and dad together, mum and dad love one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Supporting you whichever choice you make.
Yeah, definitely. I think secondary school, that was another kind of thing. I think you always know when you don't really fit in with a certain group. So I kind of got on really well with all the people, all the guys that were a bit laddie and loved football and stuff. I then also got on really well with all the people that listened to Slipknot and Korn and loved that, thought that was epic. And that was kind of more where I was drawn to, was all the kind of heavy rock music and punk and stuff. And then I had another group of friends that were all really smart and just really down to earth, and I kind of hung out with all of them. So there was never any kind of one solid group that I stuck with, and it was the same at boarding school as well. Like I was friends with all different people, and lucky for me that, like, you know, public school can be quite, I don't want to say snotty, but it can be, like if you go to particular ones. But Repton was incredibly down to earth,
right?
And the people there, like, you instantly felt like you were supposed to be there, and it was okay for you to be there. Whereas I remember going around a couple of boarding schools and being like, I'm not welcome here, because they just look you up and down and think, no.
Yeah, I've never really had a warmth or an endearing kind of pull towards boarding school until I watched Harry Potter.
Yeah, well, Repton was like that. It was great, and so many people said to me as well, they were just like, oh God, I bet it was like prison, and you couldn't do anything, you know, because we couldn't drink and stuff like that, and we were 16,
Was it
17.
mixed, you mentioned, though?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, so the boarding houses were single sex, so we had 4 girls' boarding houses and 6 boys, but it was all kind of spread out around a village. So Repton was the village, and all the houses are spread out, and the school sites are all kind of spread out throughout the village. And all the main part of the school is like it's like the Newport Arch, it's all big stone, and you kind of go in, they're all sort of the cloisters and all the big halls and stuff.
So it's a bit like Hogwarts.
That part was literally like Hogwarts. I think there was one which was probably the oldest boarding house, which was Schoolhouse. And that was really old and really haunted and just.
Well, we'll get to that because
creepy.
Yeah, we're on I think we're on our 7th or 8th week. We're on the Deathly Hallows Part 1 this week.
Oh,
with the kids. We've been doing it one each week.
Is that why your son's dressed as Harry Potter right now?
They are dressed as Harry Potter. Yeah, have been since World Book Day, and they will be casting spells and all sorts later on. But they've coped really well actually with it. Because it doesn't. I mean, I'd watched bits of them over the years, but never sat down. We've gone obviously week to week and got really acquainted with it. And they've done really well with it. They've done really well with, like, cause there's some real.
It gets quite dark towards like the last couple of films, and you kind of think this has gone from Philosopher's Stone, where it's quite child friendly, to like, you know, relationships and isolations and who's going to die next.
Yeah,
and
the dark magic.
It does turn, but
we'll see how they get on later. So, okay, you mentioned there the haunted, ghostly aspects that you start recognising in your life. And obviously as we sit here today and we have this conversation, you know, a big part of what you do is using your intuition and your feelings of what surround us and what, you know, what signs might be and so on. So you've had a lovely upbringing, solid, healthy, happy. Boarding school's great. You've got your catharsism with your music and your learning. And then when do you start to think, ooh, getting a shiver and what's this?
I don't really know. Like, I always say to people, like, it's, you know, when you hear it and, you know, you read an article in a magazine, it's like, well, I saw my granddad at the end of my bed when I was 4. And I just never really had that. Like, the only thing I can really remember as being really prominent was I was 7, and me and my sister were sleeping downstairs in the front room, and I remember a woman bending down next to my sister, and kind of, I couldn't see her face, but I could see what she was wearing. I could see she was in jeans and a jumper, and we'd had all the family round, because I think it was Easter or something, so they were all in our beds upstairs, like all my mum's sisters and husbands and stuff. So I remember, because I still remember the feeling of lifting my head up from the sofa, because I was holding it at such an angle for such a long time. I was like, that's really hurting. And I remember seeing this woman literally like crouched over my sister, and then she looked at me, and then we've got like an archway, kind of round doorway in the front room, and she just stood next to the door staring at me and was just sliding into the hinges for about 20 minutes.
Wow.
And then she was just gone. And I was like,
A long
wow.
time, though.
Yeah, I was like, that was really weird. And then I just went back to sleep, and I
And
said,
how old are you there? Sorry, Annie.
probably about 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I was young. And I said to my mum, I was like, who came in to check on us last night? She said, no one. I said, yeah. I said, I think Auntie Nessie or Auntie Fred or someone came in. She's like, no one came in to check on you last night. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think. And that kind of has always stuck with me.
Did it scare you, Annie? Or was it something that you were just kind of like observant of? And
No, it didn't at all. And then after that, I was always fascinated by ghost stories. If somebody said that they thought there was a ghost in their house, I wanted to hear about it, because I always found that really interesting. I watched Ghost Adventures and Zach Bagans all the time. It just really interested me, and the idea of that someone that's passed over could still be here, and if it is here, they're manifesting, like physically, moving things, turning lights off. It's like that. Just it's a whole different kettle of fish, and I was like, this is crazy. And it just really. And I remember a couple of times, like I remember going to one of my friends' houses, and I just got this feeling in my stomach, and I think it was 14 or 15. It was just one room in a house, and I used to go there like most weekends. I just couldn't go in that room. I don't know what it was, and I still don't know what it is really, but it was always so cold, and it just made me sweat and feel sick every time I went in it, and by the end I just stopped going in it. So it's like, this is weird.
okay, so from that first night when you're 7, do you start to see anything else, any patterns, recognise anything? It's just
no, it was just that, and then I just didn't really think of it as like like I was experiencing something. It was just something that was a bit weird, and then it was just kind of the fascination of everything for ages. And like when we went to boarding school, like obviously that was really haunted, and a lot of the buildings were haunted, and they had in the library at school a black book, which was like literally, because it was such an old school, it had been there about 500 years, so all the kids that were there, like, so there was one boarding house that one of the traditions was that when all the new kids, so I think it would be year 9, when all the boys would come there, they'd all have to run through the corridor, and all the older boys would throw pillows at them and hit them over the head with pillows. One student had put a glass ink bottle in his pillowcase, whacked this kid over the head, and it killed him.
oh fuck,
So a lot of these
Jesus.
yeah, and it's in the black book as this incident happening, but if you asked any of the cleaners who cleaned that boarding house, they always see this boy, and they know all the kids are in lessons and stuff, and there's no one there.
Wow.
And they always saw this boy. So like that, things like that, I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
this is amazing. But it didn't really become a thing until we started looking into spirituality really in 2013, so when I was 23. And for me it really started when I went for a psychic reading with a lady in Birchwood or Donington Park called Michelle Sale, who still teaches me now. She teaches me Reiki, and she teaches me, I do a workshop, a circle with a women's circle. It's been the same 6 women in it, and we've been in it for 3 or 4 years together. We meet up every month, and she just kind of teaches us how to do readings, pick up on energy and stuff like that. So it's kind of constantly developing our abilities and stuff. And I went for a reading with her on my birthday. Well, I think that must have been 2015. And she was like, "You'd be really good at this, by the way." And I was like, "Well, good at what?" And she was like, "Doing readings, doing what I'm doing." And I was like, "Yeah, right." I was like, obviously I'd love that, but I can't do that. She was like, "Yeah, you should do it." So I was like, okay. Didn't really think anything of it. And then she invited me to a psychic development workshop in the November, I think. So Kieran's mum had passed in August, and we were still kind of heading that way anyway with what we wanted to do. And I think, if anything, we didn't know if it would just kind of help with him for sort of like a bit of healing and stuff as well. And then I just remember doing an exercise with people, and I just remember I just got this woman through, got all the details of how she died, where it was in her body, what she was like as a person, what she was wearing. And this woman just looked at me and she was like, "That's my grandma."
Whoa.
And I was like, "Oh, is it?" She was like, "Yeah, that is my grandma. That's how she died. That's the age she died, everything." And I was like, "Oh." And that felt really good, that I could pick up on something like that. So that I'm constantly developing, as well as the psychic side of it as well. It's just a really interesting.
So you mentioned you start to pay attention to that. It finds its way back to you, if you like, through when you and Kieran yourself start to sort of leave the, for want of a better explanation, kind of the mainstream framework of everything.
Yeah.
And start to go off into the books and into the documentaries and start unweaving.
I think that's how it always starts, doesn't it? Is that you start talking about it with people, then it kind of evolves into like conspiracy theories and about 9/11 and, you know, did that person really die or was it covered up by the media? And then you kind of start reading all these books and finding out all these really interesting things about, what if it wasn't that? What if something else happened and we've not been told about it? And then that kind of stems on to sort of getting back quite angry about the world and war and politics, and then the frustration then turns into peace, because then you kind of see the lighter side. And I think for me, like, as angry as you could get about the world and being negative and, you know, this is wrong and we shouldn't be doing this and why are we fighting this country and stuff, but then it was forgetting that there was just all this amazing stuff in the world as well, and focusing on that.
That's a really good point you make, Annie, because I think lots of us sort of get behind the curtain, so all of a sudden we realise it's not, life isn't just what the news at 10 says and the disc jockey in the morning and the advertisements for all of the, you know, Keep Up with the Joneses and Saturday night takeaway and here's another contestant and here's a 7-minute thing and can you just say that again into the camera, let's just do that one more, you know. And you realise the world isn't just what you've had kind of directly fed into the frontal lobe of your brain through the television, the radio and the media, the tabloids. You pop that off, and I think you mentioned it there, you can get, you know, it does start with all the big stuff, the Kennedys and the, you know, but what it really teaches you is that we're far enough along the timeline now where there's patterns that develop and you go, hang on a minute, there is things here that there's other alternative reasons that maybe this has happened. And that anger bit you talk of, some people get stuck there. You know, I've got friends and, you know, we went through similar things, read books at different times and then sort of went through that whole journey. But you can get stuck there and you can stay bitter at the world and kind of, you know, not trust anything or anybody and kind of get really caught. And then I think that's a difficult spot to be in. But if you do manage to come out the other side, and you mentioned you see the light and things and realise that everything's complex, and that's a really nice place to get to. Especially when you've got kids, because now you've got this kind of, there's a broader kind of way of seeing things, isn't there?
Definitely. And I think with anybody that has kids, like, for us, it was kind of like you suddenly, everything we did before was great, but now, like, I struggle to see why people wouldn't want kids because they don't want them to grow up in a toxic environment. But to me, I would want to raise children in this environment so that I can show them all the good that's here and to teach them the light side of everything, not kind of say this place is poisonous and we've done this to the world and stuff. It's like, how can you help us? And you can be part of the change as well. And, you know, me and Kieran were talking about it the other day, and it's just like everything you do, like before it was for me and for my career and stuff, but now everything I do it for Bobby. And I, you know, I want to be good at what I do. I want to be a good healer so that he's proud of me. And do you know what I mean? Like, it's all for them.
And you're so lucky, as we sit here in, you know, March of 2020, I mean, you're a generation probably younger than me, but we are lost in the digital Black Mirror world now of kind of everything now. And for you to be in a relationship with somebody else and have a baby and be married and to share some of these fundamental padstones, that's a really powerful thing now, because so many of us are kind of, we're all hooking up in the kind of slipstream of our mirrored versions of ourselves, you know, and pretensed kind of adhering to the version of ourselves to somebody else that we want based on some of this sort of, you know, outside influence of social media and where we should be and what we should look like and what we should have. And I think bringing up kids, if you're in a position like you are, where you share those fundamentals, you know, and the willingness to grow. For your son and for future children, that's just going to be such a rewarding benefit, because it's just truth. It's just flat, solid truth. You know, whichever direction that goes in. And I think that's something that, as you say, teaching that to your children these days, it's difficult, because everywhere you go, people are heads down in screens, and then they just pop up into this world, and it's tricky. You know?
It is. It's totally tough. And, you know, I've really struggled, or I still really struggle with things like Instagram, because, you know, it's a way for people to connect to me if they want a reading or they want to come for healing or whatever. And I want to be more approachable in that. But I'm struggling to sell myself as a product, because you know, I don't want to sit there for 4 hours rearranging my hair and the right light. Like, I just don't have the time or the patience to sit there and do those kind of posts. And
it feels superficial to you, I imagine.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real, which I think is why I've got about 3,000 pictures of Bobby on there, because it doesn't matter what he looks like, he's great. So I'm just like, I'll just fill it all with Bobby.
That is our modern kind of dichotomy for me. I mean, we talk about it. Did a recent episode with my brothers called Four Brothers, and we were a bit pissed actually, because this is the bar over there, and we were a bit righteous. And, you know, all truth told, it's just an excuse for us to get together in this mad busy world, because we're all older now. And it was lovely, and we this topic seems to keep coming up with us as we're spread across. My youngest brother George, 13 years younger than me, I'm the oldest, and we're kind of dotted in between those 13 years, you know, 6 years, 10 years and 13 years between me and my brothers. And it's strange how we're all kind of dealing through the various stages of it together, because I'm old enough to not have had a mobile phone, and certainly no internet or anything, you know. I used to phone a girl up after school, like, hello Mr. Robinson, can I speak to Sarah? You know, like, and if you had to be somewhere, you'd be there. And then obviously my brother's coming through at different stages, so we talk about this a lot, and how it affects us today. And when you say about bringing kids into the world, and I've got friends who won't bring kids in based upon that, and I respect that, I get that, but I've just finished a book called Sapiens last month, and what I took away from it, and I keep banging on about this, is the human condition seems to be two things really. It's like, and they feed one another. It's like love, obviously, which sounds woo and cliche and everything, but it is the fundamental universal truth. That's it. And then we've got the why question, and the creative kind of endeavour to get to the why all the time. So our evolution, our revolution is always, we've got the next thing, it's better, it's quicker, it's faster. Even back in, you know, hunter-gatherer times, whatever it was, if someone came up with, you know, if you hold this leaf like this, you can hold the water in it, and you haven't got to keep just, you know, that is evolution of technology. And what I don't want to call it a conclusion, because I'm never a closed book on anything, but it feels like the human condition is like the most pure thing to feel is unconditional love, which essentially is reproduction,
Yeah.
which is to bring little humans into the world that you own, that you've made, you've created with somebody you love, somebody you share your fucking madness from behind your eyes.
Yeah.
That you found somebody else who's like, yeah, we're okay, we're together, we can do this together, this is crazy. And then you have this little human that's just fucking blows your mind in every way that you can never articulate to anybody.
No.
But then if you don't do that, you'll never know what that love feels like.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to actually say, well, it's not for me,
Yeah.
because, you know, you'll never know.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. I'm not
No.
by, in any way am I saying everybody should have children at all. I'm just saying I've come to a personal kind of point at the moment where I'm like, it seems to me if I boil all this madness down to like this fucking something consumable, it's like we all need love, like more than anything.
Yeah.
And the purest way is when you have your children, it kind of teaches you something about you that you just never find otherwise, it feels like. But then is that adding to the whole kind of, it's just a fucking, I don't know.
I know.
I really don't know.
Yeah. Because we always said as well, like, I remember when Bobby was born and we were in hospital, and the first night we just didn't sleep after we'd had him. We'd had him like 5:20 in the evening, and we were just awake, just kind of looking at him like, oh my God, he's here. And I just remember turning around to Kieran, I was like, I love you, but I love Bobby. I'm sorry. That was just like, you're great, but he's something else. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. Like, you're great, but he is great.
There's something, this is what I'm talking about, Annie. There's some things so intrinsically, primally wired. If you so happen to be accepting of it, of you know, like if, like I said at the sort of beginning of my little rant, was like it feels to me, I might be wrong, I hope that I'm wrong, it just feels to me that so many of our kind of loving relationships, you know, as in courting, as in boy and girl, girl, boy, 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 whatever, are kind of not helped by the culture that we've created now, where so much stuff is superficial and we're going after symmetry and things more and more than ever.
Yeah.
And missing the point. And because you've got 10 inboxes, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't work out with me and Sally, because I've already got, you know, Janine and Francesca, and they're all poking me and inboxing me, and it's kind of like this whole next, move on, next, it's exciting, next, novelty, it's next. And
you're not retaining anything. And I feel like that, like, I think me and Kieran did it last September, where we did Scroll Free September, and it was the weirdest thing we ever did, but it was probably the best thing we ever did.
You
like
did what, sorry, Annie?
Scroll Free September, where you just get rid of all your social media apps.
Oh, interesting. That's got a name. Scroll Free.
Well, yeah, I think it's a thing.
Okay.
Well, if it's not a thing, it is now.
Yeah, you've just fucking put it out there to the
Well,
Tune Chat people.
Trademark that.
Yeah.
But no, it was, and I remember doing it in the first week. We were quite depressed, because we weren't getting notifications, we weren't getting likes, we weren't talking to people unless it was by text and WhatsApp and stuff. So it was just weird. Like, I felt quite isolated, and like I was missing out, because that's where everybody is. And to not have that. But then after a while, you're just like, okay, well, actually, instead of thinking about, you know, who might have posted a cake on social media, then actually I could read a book, or I could go and, you know, get back into running and stuff. And by the end of the month, we felt so much better. And it's really good to have those breaks. And I say that like I do it all the time, but it's something that I want to do again, because you know, you do it so many times. And I'm so glad Instagram's brought that thing up now where you're scrolling and it says you're up to date now.
Does it?
Yeah, so you'll get halfway down and it'll be like, you're up to date. So if you carry on scrolling, it's everything you've already mindlessly looked at.
Everybody listening now knows that moment when you realise yourself, I'm just fucking looking at shit.
What is this?
What am I doing? And you manage to, even when you have the thought, you kind of keep flicking.
That finger just
there
keeps
might be
going.
something. There's going to be something that yeah, it's a strange phenomenon, and we're similar in the sense that you know, if we go camping or anything like that, you know, we'll phones will be kind of there for the camera element, and maybe we'll have podcasts on, but in terms of engaging with the digi world, we'll cut that off. And we're certainly conscious now, the kids are getting older, that etiquette in the house. Just think about what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
There's no phones when we're eating dinner. There's no phones, you know. The kids get back from school, you know. I might have a couple of emails to send, or I might get a call from work, but we're conscious of like, okay, now it's like they go, you
Yeah.
know, put that out of the way. You know, whenever they're around, we try and do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
They're at the age now where it's like, you know, maddeningly, I mean, crazy, but people have got phones and stuff, and we're like, look, you know, just again coming back to what I'd said, I don't know if it's pre-podcast or not, but I said to you about like when he's talking to me, like, what do I tell him here? Do I tell him the crap?
Yeah.
Or do I sugarcoat like a, you know, dad to son thing?
Mm-hmm.
And he was asking about phones, and it was an example at Christmas, gone to see some of their cousins up in Newcastle, and they were all playing, how I remember it. And you probably got experiences just like yourself. You see your cousins you haven't seen for a year, and they're a tiny bit older, a year or two older. And so at first, I noticed my kids were a little bit like, they were super excited, but like holding it back because they were like, oh God, you know. And then that ice breaks, and the next thing they're flying up the stairs, down the stairs,
Yeah.
around the coffee table, back out the room, back in the room, crisps and bits and bobs, and up and down and round. And it's amazing, you
Yeah.
know. Oh, where's so and so? Oh, he's in the wardrobe. We'll get, you know, is he all right? Yeah, we're playing whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then one of the older cousins got the phone out. Okay, and then they were sat on the sofa. Never forget looking at this because it just triggered me. It's like,
Oh.
this is it.
Yeah.
And he's playing, you know, hunt, kill, whatever on the phone, and his sibling was with him. It's like a line of them on the sofa in like age. It's like a little.
Yeah.
And then my two boys were kind of in, and they're all leaning over and watching. It's just silence, just watching.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, you killed him, and all that, you know. And I was looking and like thinking, this is it. These feelings that I'm having when I'm looking out of my eyes from behind my skin into the world, and I'm kind of, everything you hear is kind of, we're disconnected, we're
Yeah.
falling apart, we've got depression levels, anxiety levels through the roof, kids aren't able to be social, they don't know how to. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, a minute ago, these kids were like imagination, physicality,
Yeah.
on the move, interacting, role playing,
Yeah.
you're a pirate, and now it's like, we're all silent, we're sat down, and we're watching somebody else just killing
Yeah.
whatever it is, even if it's zombies in a game, like just the idea that it's kill,
Yeah.
you're dead,
Yeah.
you know, and then what? And then when we got in the car to leave, sorry, I'm digressing on a story
all right.
here, but it's, you know, kind of relevant. We got in the car and Daddy, when can we have a phone? When can we get a phone? And I was like, look, okay, listen. I said, and we went on a whole spiel, and what I decided to say was, look, I told him the whole. We had a 40-minute drive up to Middlesbrough from Newcastle, so my wife and I just do what we normally do, which was like, okay, looked at each other, say, right, you follow my lead. I went in, I said, look, do you know the man who invented the phones? He was called Steve Jobs. I said, and he was super intelligent guy. I said, but guess what? What, Daddy, what? I said, well, you know, he had children, and he didn't let his children have phones until they were, guess how old? And they were like, I don't know, Daddy, I don't know, 6, 7, 8. I said, no, I said 12.
Yeah.
12?
I would
My
definitely
friends
do
have got
12.
phones. I said, well, do you know why? And then I ended up starting making bits up, because I don't know Steve Jobs why I didn't. I've got an idea. It's because he realised that the young brain has got to develop before you start getting lost in the
Yeah.
the hypnotising, colourful, moving motion of a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of gave him that whole spiel. I said, look, you know, it's you're learning all the time. When you're looking out the window in the car and we're driving, I said, you're learning, you know, you saw the Angel of the North, and you've seen all these things. I said,
Yeah.
you don't know it right now. I said, but you're learning, you're loading your brain with information, like from the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've done that, I said, when you get to about 12, then you probably will have something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting, and I spent 40 minutes, like the whole of that journey, kind of trying to make it as interactive with them, so it was on their level, but it was actually, the information was our information.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what I found is the thing with the phones is, and we've since had a kind of a bridging, you know, the older ones at year 1 now in school, and they're at parties, and everyone's got, not everybody, but some of them got phones, a lot of them got tablets and stuff, and they haven't. And we were Alex and I were like, look, we can't, as you mentioned earlier, you know, when you realise the world's bent out of shape, you want to make one that's the right shape, which is the thing to do. But
Yeah.
you've got to also be aware that they are in the playground, they are with the kids.
Yeah.
So we were like, how do we bridge this gap so they don't become sort of
Well, left out.
bitter and left out and then resentful of us, and then that whole void can open up.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife said, well, why don't we get them? They've been asking about games and stuff. Why don't we get them like a retro games console that they can have, like, you know, on a rainy day they can have an hour, or at the weekend when they've been good or they've done their jobs or whatever. I was like, yeah, that's cool. So we ended up with like a retro Mega Drive,
Yeah.
and they have like a bit on that every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to have, for now,
Fed them.
yeah, just enough out of the way. And it's been quite a trip down memory lane actually, because I can remember getting one of those. But it seems to be like the payoff at the moment. You know, they've got their little thing. So when the conversation's flying around at school, they've got their little Mega Drive. And
I think that's the most difficult part about it, isn't it? It's that, you know, it's all right because, and it's the same with our parents really as well. Like, we started getting mobiles, they didn't have them. Just because they didn't have them as a kid, it didn't mean they stopped us from having it. Like, it's today's society,
It's the world, yeah.
and how our world runs, and unfortunately, in a way, that's how our society runs these days, is with iPhones and Androids or whatever, and it's how they do it and stuff. But I would like to think that we would wait until he's 12, because that is when they need it, for when they go to secondary school and if they're walking home and stuff. And if anything, it's more of a safety
by
thing.
the time Bob is 12, I mean, God knows what will be happening in the way they actually do their work and actually
Yeah.
store their information.
The
and stuff.
bloody contact lenses by then.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
Just-
Hello.
Yeah.
Talk
God,
to your
yeah.
mother.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part of the world that scares me. But you know,
Yeah.
it's what we're in. It's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, digressing wildly there on a tangent, kind of, but coming back to, you know, you're in your early 20s then. You and Kieran are kind of discovering this other world, this you know, different to the one you've known before, and you start to feel, as you're learning about, I guess you're reading philosophy and spirituality and people's life learnings and stuff, and you start to feel I guess it's a skill, a gift that you've got that you don't know you've got, but you do know you've got, kind of.
Yeah.
It starts to come through. You meet this lady you're reading, and then she kind of pulls you in and says, you can do this. You have a moment where you break through with somebody, and then you've got the wind in your sails, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I probably didn't have much confidence to do it at the beginning, because obviously it's really out there. And to me, it obviously feels so normal now, like, to talk about people that have got messages from people that have passed over and stuff like that. That's part of my life now, and that's what I've been learning to do for the past 5 years. So it's normal to me. So I need to be more mindful and careful of clients now who haven't experienced that yet and are new to it, and, you know, kind of not just come in and say, oh, you know, I've got blah blah here and they said da 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 da, and then to just have them well up. It's like, okay.
Well, for instance, so you sent me a reading through last night,
Yeah.
pre podcast, and I wasn't expecting it. I know you'd mentioned that we're going to do some, but I've never done anything like this before, and I think I did say pre podcast. I've never really known where I stand with this stuff, because
Yeah.
I never disbelieve anything. I'm a believer in anything until disproven. I think the world is magical. I think just we're magic.
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
But yeah, I checked in on the email last thing, and you'd sent over a reading, and I was like, whoa. And I mean, like 3 pages of like, and I can see that it's just coming out. You can tell the way it's written. and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is mad. So my question to you is how does it come to you? Does it come to you in a similar way each time? You know, and the only crude way I can kind of put an analogy to it is, like, I can remember, like, maybe when I used to go clubbing, and maybe I'd have a little bit of, you know, toxic help,
Yeah.
like some kind of a drug, and you would come up on a drug,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like and you'd feel yourself get warm. Do you go to the same place every time? Like, when I used to have that feeling, I kind of remember thinking, oh God, yes, this is going to happen, then that's going to happen, then that's going to happen, and then I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Is it like that in any way, or is it just,
I mean,
how do you conjure?
so I start with a meditation. So I activate all my chakras, ground myself, protect myself. And then So what I do with the email readings, so just to briefly talk about those. So obviously I can do face-to-face as well, but since I had Bobby, working around a baby and then trying to get a client in a day for a reading whilst he's napping was just going to be impossible. And I didn't want to have, and you need to be as clear as possible. You need to be a clear channel, basically. And I can't have anything coming in that shouldn't be there. So now it's a lot easier because if I do an email reading, I know that he naps solidly for 2 hours at some point during the day. So I'll put him down for his nap. He doesn't really wake up for the whole nap, which is great. So I know that in that time I can meditate and I can do an email reading. And that usually consists of me doing the meditation, which usually takes about 15-20 minutes. And then I pull up a picture. So like I took a picture from your social media profile, screenshot that, stuck that on my desktop, on my laptop. And so had that up and then had the page document next to me. And then it is literally like it just pours out. It's crazy. It's like the best way I can describe the way that I do it, because I would have thought that with mediumship and psychic work, so mediumship is where you're getting messages from spirit, basically. Psychic is when you're reading their aura and their energies and you're picking up their feelings, their emotions, the past, present, the future as well. That is a lot more to do with your intuition and things like that, which ironically I'm not very good at in life. So in terms of relationships, people, friendships, like Kieran, for instance, always says to me, oh yeah, no, that's going to go tits up, basically. I'm like, no, they're going to be fine. Literally 2 years later, not a thing anymore. I'm just like, how do you know that? He's like, I've always said that. It's like, oh, and my judgment of people, whether I'm too, I just try and see the good in everyone. So I don't think that they'd have the capability to treat me like that. So I've had that with friendships before. I kind of think, no, they wouldn't do that to me. And then they do it. I'm just like, okay, why didn't I see that coming? But I think it's because I go in like, no, they're good. There's a reason why we have a good connection. They wouldn't do that. So kind of with the readings, what I tend to do is, the way that I can describe it is, it's like, you know, when you daydream and you talk to yourself in your head, it's like that, but it's another voice coming in.
Okay.
So I'll kind of get fed information from my spirit guides, basically. And then I'll kind of go into the mediumship side of the reading as well and see if you've got anyone there with you. Try and work out who they are, when they passed, what they looked like, what they did. They'll sometimes, I'm quite visual, so again, it's like a daydream, so I'll be shown clips of something, so I will see you doing something and then I'll write that down because I think that's what they're showing me, or they'll show me something and I'll just check that it's an interpretation or whether this is actually it, and they're like, no, this means that they have to do this. So I'm like, okay, so for you, this is what this is meaning, basically. And then with that, I draw oracle cards as well, which are similar to tarots, but I find tarot cards really complicated. Like, I don't know what they mean. And even with cards themselves, like, I don't know what the picture means. Like, really, like, you know, people kind of, if you go for like a tarot reading, and it can be like, oh, so there's blue in the background and that represents blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
I don't do that. Like, for me, it's, I don't know. So say if I pull 7 cards and then I'm like, okay, this has come up. Why has this come up to this person? Okay, well, it usually comes up for this. Okay, why do I think it's come up for this person? Okay, well, actually, and then I'll be shown a clip of something, whether it's, so say if you've got foundations, is it talking about your life? Is it talking about you moving house? Is it about you doing something new and putting the groundwork into it? And then I'll get shown a clip of something. Okay, it's to do with a house. They're going to move house. Okay. And then I'll kind of go off that, and then that will just kind of pour out as well.
So when you're shown a clip, is it kind of like any other kind of visualization you have in your mind when you're thinking about, oh, tomorrow I'm going to wear that dress because we're going to that thing and it will look really nice? Is it kind of, you're getting that kind of just imagination kind of just manifest?
You just kind of start to see that person, and I've never really thought about it, but whoever I'm reading, I can then start to see them, and you know, are they crying? Are they emotional? Is there a partner there? What do they look like? Is it happy? Is it a past one? And the more you kind of ask and the more you kind of get used to learning more and working out what it is. And I think the key with it is to just be as open and as relaxed as possible, because the minute you start worrying about it, that's when it can all go a bit wrong.
Well,
I think.
my next question is like, how do you discern experiences in terms of how much of your energy in your life, how much stress that you're having in your actual life, how much sleep you've had or haven't had,
Yeah.
any fallouts, any, you know, whatever the life stress is that you're just having in your everyday life, can they carry in if you're, can they sort of, you know, muffle
Affect it. It's difficult because so like this week I've just had a really odd week and a lot of bumps for me personally. And I did a reading, I think on Wednesday, and I think it was because Kieran kept coming in and out the room, and I sent it to this girl, and she was like, and she was really sweet, bless her, but she was like, I'm really sorry, it doesn't resonate with me at all. And I was like, I don't get it. I was adamant. And honestly, that is the second time in 5 years I've had a reading that hasn't sat well with somebody.
Okay.
So I was really like, what have I done? Like, how has this gone wrong? Because there must be a reason. And then I kept thinking about the fact that Kieran had kept coming in. And when I read it to see if it would relate to him, just loads of it did.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, I'm just picking up on my bloody husband. I was like, oh, for God's sake. And so I messaged the girl and I was like, I'm really sorry. I said, I think I've just been reading my husband because he keeps walking in the room and talking to me. And I think that's what it is. So then lesson learned for me, like, I need to go away.
Right.
I need to maybe go and sit in the reception of the centre and just isolate myself so that it's just me and their energy. Because as well, that's why I always use photos with just that person in, because if you have a group photo,
Yep.
you're probably going to start picking up on somebody else that's in the photo. So then I'll be reading something and they're like,
That's
oh,
interesting. So if you were to look at a photo with, for instance, me and whoever, my brother,
Yeah.
my mum and my brother,
yeah,
would it be possible that you would end up
Yeah.
sort of knitting together because you picked up on a few things
in
there that were really interesting?
yeah.
And I wonder if it'd be nice if my family would be up for coming to see you. Actually,
Yeah, so
it's interesting.
it is interesting, and I think, you know, even with the mediumship side of things, like sometimes I'm so certain when it comes through and I can see them and I'm talking to them and I'm like, yeah, this is this person and this is their circumstances and this is who they are, and that person will be like, oh, I'm sorry, I just don't know them. And I'm like, okay, go back to your mum and ask her if she recognises them, and then they'll come back and go, oh yeah, apparently it's my great auntie Blue. I'm like, oh, so it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, it's not cut and dry. It's not polarizing in the sense that this. Because when I was reading through it last night, I read it when you sent it, and then when my wife got back from her work, we had a look through it again, and she read it and kind of gave me her interpretation, and she picked up on a couple of things that I was like, she said, oh, that might mean that, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I need to read it again. It's weird. It's like, not to in any way sort of measure this against watching films or whatever, but like sometimes when I'm really taken with something, it puts me in a certain space that I can feel, and I kind of have to digest it and revisit and digest and revisit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're heavy as well,
Yeah.
and for me, I want my psychic readings to be a healing process. I don't want it to be. To be honest, I think they all are, though. If you go to any psychic medium, that's the point of it, is that you're going to get comfort from somebody that's passed over, or if you need guidance, and that, you know, and I'm the same. Like, that's all I want, is that I want that person to come away and be like, God, I feel so much better, and like, I'm really glad my mum came through, and then actually they've talked about this and this and my career, and now I know that's what I was thinking of, and that maybe I should start thinking about this as well. So I do want it to be a healing process. So I do feel, and I've had a lot of that recently as well, quite a few readings with women and stuff this year, and it's all been quite common feelings and situations where there's a lot. My sort of general overview with people at the minute is that nobody's really talking about how they're feeling. They're not expressing their emotions, and if they've been through something, then it's not coming out. So then it's manifesting later, and that is something that I want to push. And especially with trauma and PTSD and stuff later, I want to really focus on that and getting that out of the person and dealing with it. Because I think from what I've seen, a lot of people tend to just carry it because it's your body's way of coping with it. They go, you've been through this, you can't deal with this right now, so let's just bury it and then we'll deal with it later. And then, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years, it just suddenly comes up with that person and they don't know how to cope with it.
Yeah, I've got friends that work in this area as well, and so often that's the case, and so much so where I was inspired to read a book, The Body Keeps the Score, which basically says exactly that, that we put it under the rug, we think, but maybe it sits in your hip or on your back or in your shoulder or in your neck, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what if it's not good news? What happens if you've got to write something, you're just typing and you're like, oh shit, this isn't going to be fun.
I mean,
how do you deal with that? Does that happen?
I've never had anything where people, because a lot of people with me, I find that people that aren't interested or say they're not interested, it tends to be, I don't believe in any of that stuff. Then that changes to, it really freaks me out. I don't want to hear about it. And then it changes to, I'd be too scared to hear what you were going to say. So it's just kind of the process of people kind of getting comfortable with it. And that's what I want it to be. And I think with negative, I've not really had anything. And if anything, if somebody's having a tough time or it's going to be a tough time, the stuff that's coming through is really comforting. And it's not like I've never had through, and I don't think I ever will, touch wood, get, blah blah's gonna die in 7 days. I just don't think that's the thing, because how is the human supposed to cope with that?
Yeah.
And if you're telling somebody that, that's not, unless I genuinely felt like somebody was gonna be in danger, I guess. But I've never come across that. And I feel a lot for people, and I think a lot of the readings I've done have been incredibly heavy, and they've been through something really major, and it's kind of just helping them deal with that and how to move forward the next thing. But yeah, I've never really had it where it's been, I don't know, I've just never, I hope I don't get anything like that, because it'd be awful.
What about even if it's just mundane kind of negative, how do I say? Yes, so it's not dramatic, someone's going to pass us, but just there's just not a lot of positive. It's just kind of nothing's going to change.
If anything,
you got your in regression. It's not looking great for you. You're lazy.
You're just shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Pay me 30 quid.
Yeah.
No, I think if anybody, if it is a negative reading, then they're not going to say to you, the messages that I get from the other side and the information that I'm being fed, they're not going to say, oh, things are going to be shit for you, you need to deal with it. They're going to be like, this is going to be a tough situation, this is what we think you should be doing.
And extract positive from that.
To grow from it. Or try this therapy, because I think that might suit with you if this is where you're having problems and stuff. And it always leads to a positive. I don't think, unless you were working with very negative energies, they'd be like, your life's going to be shit and it's going to stay shit forever. That would be horrible.
Oh God, yeah.
But it will always be positive, or it would just be comforting. It will be, I think for me as a reader, I probably don't say what you want me to say, because I think I'm like an advisor. So me and Kieran are very different, because he's an empath. I'm more of an advisor. So he will give you a massive... That's why women are drawn to him, because they'll just kind of pour out all their problems.
So Kieran practices this as well?
No. He's just he's just in
He's
a
just
social
tuned.
situation. He's they just flock to him, and he's just very good at dealing with. He'll kind of ask the right questions that people don't expect to hear, but they need it. Whereas with me, and I've kind of said to my friends before, like, oh, I'm really sorry, like if I'm a bit brutal sometimes, but it's the stuff that I feel like I won't sugarcoat it. I'll be like, well, you're doing this, and we've already discussed that you shouldn't be doing that, so we need to look at how you can move forward and what will work best for you. And I think honestly, I'm being drawn to this and it should be that. And sometimes people come for a reading and they do just want a big hug, and for somebody it's just like, it's okay, you're going to be fine, and that's just not how I do it. So that can be quite tough, but a lot of my friends are like, no, I go to you because you're honest and you're brutal, and I need that.
And humans, we're all so very different, aren't we? And I imagine some people want to go for readings to kind of to find something to take back into their lives, even though internally they might already know that they need that there's work to do. Do you know what I mean? But
definitely
hope that someone's going to tell them, oh no, and then there's people who, like me, totally unassuming, unexpecting, that were like, oh shit, like, wow, that's it's, I guess, your intent going in is huge for clients for you, I'd imagine.
I think, definitely everybody wants different things from it, so you'll get people that they'll want a certain answer and they just don't get it. So to them, the information's wrong because it's not what they want to hear.
Yeah, does that happen? Yeah, is it, oh, well, that's rubbish because
I haven't had that yet.
Because you just have to accept whatever it is, digest it, whatever it is, and let it wash over you, whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely.
But we do have this inbuilt bias, don't we, to like, if it's positive, I believe it.
Yeah.
If it's negative, it's a load of bollocks.
It's wrong. Yeah, totally. And I think it can be very difficult for people to hear. And I've found as well the sort of past 6 months, like, because my meditations have got deeper, the work I'm doing is getting deeper. So I'm getting deeper with the person. So a couple of people, when it's their first one and stuff, I'm just like, I'm really sorry if it's quite heavy, because I really go in. But at the same time, that's the best way that I can help them, is that I'm making you think about something that you didn't think was an issue, but actually when you think about it now, it has been bothering you and it is something that you need to work on.
It always seems to be the case. The hardest thing that we need to do, this is another mantra I try and live by in my life, that internal dialogue and floating helps me with this massively. Whatever it is, the next move in business, or you haven't spent enough time with the kids, whatever that niggling little voice is in your mind that's sort of talking to you, and you can justify a million ways around it. Oh, it's because this, and I haven't seen the kids as much because I've been working hard and I'm providing, and whatever it may be. Whatever that difficult dialogue throws at you is normally the thing you've got to do. You need to act and do something and let this in.
Definitely.
That's what I find. I
think a lot of the time it definitely is stuff that people don't want to hear, or they were kind of expecting something else. But I just deliver what I get and what I think is important. And I think it's a major step for anybody to go for a reading, because it's almost like counselling. You're technically counselling that person because you're giving advice and guidance, and it might not necessarily be what they want to hear, but it might be what they need. So I just find it so interesting. I found it so fascinating. And, I've had quite a lot of messages this year about just kind of opening people up to holistic therapies and alternative therapies as well. And kind of suggesting things like acupuncture and Reiki and stuff and things like that. And to get people to kind of go, oh, I haven't really thought about that, but I'll try it, because I'll try anything. I'm in that point where I need to try something. And I've had a couple of people come back just like, thank you so much, like this has changed my life. And it's just kind of opening that door. And like at the end of the day, when you go for a reading, all I'm doing is giving you options as to where I think is the best route for you to go, but I'm not going to force you to do it. It's going to be totally up to you as to how you want to do it and if you choose to do it. So I'm laying out possibilities as to which I think is going to be the best thing for you, but actually only you can decide whether that is what you want to do or whether you think it's easier to just keep doing something else.
It feels to me almost as if, I get this feeling across the whole holistic kind of mindset, the whole, I don't want to use the word industry, but anything holistically minded. You mentioned acupuncture, you mentioned Reiki, you know, therapies, even nutrition and just going outside, you know, just, it's almost as if you're offering somebody the chance or opening the door to just allowing themselves to be open to things.
Yeah.
As much as anything, whether it's up to go on and do acupuncture or whether it's to go and speak to somebody, you know, and do, you know, mind therapy or whatever it may be. It's like the idea that without knowing it, maybe you've shut off because medicine's medicine and life's, you know, this framework.
Yeah.
But actually, no, I wouldn't be someone who necessarily do that, but I'm gonna go over that way and see what happens. And then in doing acupuncture, you end up learning about this or you know, whatever it may be. You've kind of just opened up a whole, I don't know, a line of energy you're allowing in.
Definitely. And I think, you know, like the reading is such a big step that if you've already taken that step, like why not go further? If it's worked for you and you've benefited from it, and like holistic and alternative therapies are like anything else. Sometimes they're going to work for you and sometimes they're not. Like not everybody's going to like Reiki, not everybody's going to like acupuncture, but some people it's going to really stick with them and that is going to be their go-to. Like floating is your go-to, Reiki's my go-to. Like it's all whatever works for your body, your mind and your soul, that is what you need to do. And I think, it's just kind of switching that light on in people's head going, oh, hang on, there's another path down there that I could do, which is just as beneficial. Like there's no harm in me trying it, so why don't I just go down there and try it and see if it's any good? And
because the other, I don't want to call it an option, but the way we deal with our lives is if we get jobs, we get mortgages or we pay rent and we get cars and we try and conduct relationships. And if something breaks down in us, you know, we don't necessarily understand it. Yeah, a bone or you know, something like that. But like in our minds, in our consciousness, in our stress levels, we don't necessarily know when something's, you know, not responding how it should or it could. And we'll go to a doctor and we'll get some tablets or whatever it may be, but we don't actually service ourselves or MOT our fucking abundantly fucking busy brains and minds, and to sit and talk to somebody like you or have a reading or go for a float or whatever it is, to check in with yourself, just that alone from the alternative and holistic kind of mindset is enormous, because life's busy. And I mean, I'm always banging on about it in this podcast because it's something that I'm coming to terms with in my life. We've mentioned it today, bringing kids up. Fucking this life is chaos. It's mad. There's so much data and stuff, and to just go in a tank for 60 minutes or sit with you, even doing this podcast for me is therapy. Listening to people and getting everybody's angles of their lives and different ways of anticipating change, and it's good for me, you know. And I hope people listening get that from it. I mean, so far so good, you know. People have sent lovely messages and like, oh, you know, I'm not mad because, you know, Annie said that as well. She, you know, like, and all of a sudden, you know, that's really nourishing. I think we need to do that more.
I think a lot of people don't realise how switched on they are as well, and one of the things that I've been doing recently is I've just started doing healing workshops. So obviously you get Reiki healing, and then I wanted to show people that you can send out healing without having training. Like if your intention and your belief is there that you're sending out healing, that person is going to receive healing from you. So I wanted to do a workshop based on that, where we do a lot of group healing, where you all stand round in a circle and have one person in the middle, and you'd all send healing to that person at wherever they had an ailment or an illness or something, or an injury. And we did that, and it was just amazing. Like it was just a mixture of ladies from like their 20s to 60s. You know, some knew each other, some didn't, some came on their own. There was only 10 of us, and it was like the most natural thing I think I've ever experienced. Like, it was just so, like, they all just came in and lied down and did this meditation. And afterwards I was like, okay, so what did you see? What did you experience? Like, I kind of said to them at the beginning, like, just be aware of any sensations that you have. Do you see colours? Do you see people? Do you feel anything on your body? Like, start taking that all into consideration. So then when I got the feedback after, and they were like, oh yeah, I could see red when we got to this chakra, and then I could hear this voice telling me to let go. I was like, this is amazing. Like, these are people that, it's just been a passing thought that they'd be interested in something like this, and then it's just worked for them. And it was just, I felt like a proud mum. Like, I was just like, this is incredible. Like, this has worked with people, and I was like, I want to keep doing this. Like, I'm opening people up to realizing that there's something else there. And if you want to help your friend that's got cancer and she's having a hard time, then send healing to her, and it will help her. It will make people feel more comfortable and relaxed. And I just think it's amazing.
Well, listen, I think we need to send people to you. We need to link people in. I think that's a lovely way to bring it home. You and Kieran marrying, going on your journey, learning, growing, just feeding one another, bringing Bobby into the world, who's just surrounded by just this lifting energy, this truth.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
You've got Go Deep flotation there, and as you mentioned earlier, the plan is that you just keep sort of building that into a wider therapy for people to use, incorporating your workshops, I guess. And
definitely. Pipe dream for me is I watched A Star Is Born. Okay. I don't know if you've seen it. Is
that the Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, and the Lady Gaga one.
It's meant to be brilliant.
It's amazing.
Those two didn't make me go, gotta see that.
When you see them together.
But I've heard lots that, and I will check it.
Oh, it was amazing. But the thing that really got me at the end, obviously he's playing like this alcoholic musician. And just at the end when he stood, I'm not going to give it away actually because it's a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Oh,
I could do a spoiler. I'll do a spoiler.
Okay, spoiler alert.
Start. Okay.
If you're going to watch it, turn this down. But at the end, he's very suicidal, and he's just stood outside his garage with a rope or his belt buckle or something, and then he hangs himself.
Shit.
I know. And that just threw me. And with obviously how many people, musicians and comedians and stuff, are committing suicide, it really, really got to me. And I was like, I want to help people in the media. And if there's any way that I can create sort of like a healing centre, and I said this to Kieran, I was like, oh, I've suddenly, the plans start going, the pens come out, and I was just like, I need to make a healing centre that's kind of en route for people that are on tour, or, whether it's off the motorway or something, so that, if musicians or comedians and stuff were touring, then they could book a day out to just have that time. Yeah. To just talk or have Reiki or have a reading or go for a float for a couple of hours, and just have somewhere to just chill and have someone to confide in. And I think that for me, that is a big thing that I really want to work on. And I think I'm going to see if I can get in with the army barracks as well in Lincoln, because I want to help people with PTSD. So
will you be looking to sort of unify with Go Deep then? Is it all going to be in one kind of place?
Well, yeah, hopefully. I mean, that is a super pipe dream that, we buy like a barn, then knock down barn somewhere off the A1 or something and just set it up. But I mean, I think I'm doing Reiki at Go Deep anyway. I do my email readings from home. Eventually I'll get a cabin for myself because I want my own space. And then it means as well, like if we do both start doing it full time, then he can do floats all day and then I can still have people, and we don't have to, because at the minute we're kind of taking it in terms like, can I have it for Reiki? He's like, yeah. So it's just kind of working around the clock a bit at the minute. So yeah, that's the ultimate plan, I think.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it excites me a lot. I think that's the difference for me between this work and music, is that even though I was technically good at music, there was always something missing, And this to me just like completely lights me up.
Yeah, well, you even listening to you talk about music, that's why I was so intrigued to find out, when you're having lessons when you're a child, because my two boys, well, all my kids by this point, but certainly the older two boys, I'm really they've got access to music, because I do music, and there's guitars and there's piano and there's things all around all the time, and I'm kind of in this mindset, rightly or wrongly at the moment, of just kind of exposing them to stuff.
Yeah.
Which Kieran and I spoke a little bit about, actually. There's the guitar, and if I pick my guitar up and play, it started like when they were really little. If I'd left my guitar on the side or whatever, they'd crawl over and just start hitting the strings and banging the guitar. And at first I'd be like, whoa, what's my guitar like? And then I realised, I'll just let them, whatever, it's a guitar, for God's sake. They're having fun. And then, once one of them was stood up at however old, he's getting up to 18 months to it, got him a little 4-string thing, because he just liked to, whenever I played mine, he wanted to hold his, and then that's carried on, and now one of them's got like a little 3/4 electric with an amp, and he knows how to turn it on, and he's got a whammy bar, and he knows how to put the crunch on, and he likes it in a certain sound, and he's got a mic, and they've got a kit in their bedroom, and they love Sam Fender at the moment. Big shout, Sam Fender, Newcastle. Newcastle blood is in the family. But they just love to imitate, and they're playing by playing, essentially, because the older one's already picking up on, he's only kind of doing one string on that bit, and so I'm kind of like, do I send them to lessons? Like, I found a lady who's a client of mine who's she piano teacher. She's lovely, very lovely energy. And I thought that'd be perfect, because then I'm not just sending them off to the Yellow Pages, that came in organically. But then I'm like, am I going to be taking the magic away? Because there's a magic there at the moment where he wants to explore.
It's very difficult, because I didn't appreciate it at the time, but looking back on it, I'm really, really glad they pushed me. And I've always said that to anybody. Like, I'm, even though playing all those pieces and stuff when I'm like grade 5 repertoire, and then year 6, and it's just one grade after the other, but actually I wouldn't have been able to play or do all the kind of band work. And that was the good thing as well, actually. I did cover bands quite a lot. I did ABBA, I did Motown, I think I joined the Tarantinos for a few practices, and that's so much easier to pick up if you know your way around it, and if you can with all the technical knowledge that I had, it was so much easier to pick up and to work with people in a group and say, okay, you play that, and then I can play this. And I think that's where you can clash with people, is that if you're working with all people that have just are all self-taught, and it sounds like this, okay, that's great, hang on, and then they do it and then it works, that's amazing. And I think you'll still get the same thing, but if anything it might be slightly more rigid if you have something. But I wouldn't ever regret having lessons, because I wouldn't have had the motivation or the commitment to just teach myself. But then I also think if the passion's there, you'll do it regardless.
Well, this is interesting, because I didn't have any lessons in anything. I literally joined a band at like 14 with a couple of friends who did have lessons, and they did have a big summer. One of them had a big summer house in the back garden, and it was fully kitted out. There was a drum kit. I mean, going to his house was like, whoa, I used to love it. It was amazing. And actually, looking back, it makes a lot of sense. His mum was an artist. Dad was a kind of bit of a bohemian businessman, and they had a big sprawling place up in the Bailgate there, and a big summer house. And looking back now, like there was just vinyl everywhere. There was like big art prints just lent up walls, and it was a very creative place. And they had this big summer house in the back garden, which is where I first, and it was like they were having guitar lessons at 13 years old, and they were get half a tune out. But I couldn't do anything. It's like, that's how I ended up being a singer, because I was just like, turn around, don't look at me, I'll sing. And then after 2 songs, I was like, okay, right, we're in a band, we're going to be called the blah blah whatever. With my kids, it's like, I love the fact that there's something there, it's intrinsic, they love it. But I do think I want them to learn, because what I don't know, in just having the science down, you know, like knowing what is possible, what's the geometry of music, you know, like there's structures, and I could do so much more with my intuition if I knew the roadmap better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now I ain't got a fucking clue what I'm doing. Sounds quite cool, but
Yeah.
I've been caught out even doing my own demos. I do my own demo, and I've winged it on the guitar for 2 hours on my own, and you know, and come up with something that's cool. I couldn't play it now. I
No.
didn't even know where I was on the fretboard.
No.
That is killer. That's
Yeah.
just like, oh.
Yeah, it's good to
So
just
I do want them to
write
have
it
lessons.
down.
But I find it interesting with you that you've got all of that knowledge, but something just wasn't clicking for you.
No,
That's
it just
interesting,
wasn't.
isn't it?
And I always knew it. And now looking back on it, that obviously was probably the reason why I didn't want to sing in front of people, why I wasn't that bothered about lessons. You know, why I always wanted to sing with other people, because I didn't feel I was good enough to do it on my own. And I just think that if I was that passionate about it, I would have been like, I don't care what anyone else thinks. You know, and that's what people do. If people love music, they just go for it. And hats off to them. Like, you know, whether they're amazing or they're a sack of shit. Like, if that's what they love doing, they're doing it. And I just never had that. I think there was a couple of gigs that I did with Kieran, and I was like, oh, that felt really good. Playing our stuff. But I wish I had that same feeling when we were writing. And I just never did. It was always him bringing stuff to the table, and I felt really bad. And it took me a while to kind of realise and kind of admit to him that actually I'm not really enjoying this as much as I should be, and I don't think I should do it anymore. And that was quite difficult, because obviously the band was such a big part of our relationship, you know, sort of midway through, and I was just like, I think if anything I was probably a little bit worried, because I was like, you know, when you have something that big, is that then going to affect us? But it obviously didn't. We were fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, and coming back around, because all the while you're moving towards your true passion, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're being, all of it's playing a part in leading you to, you know,
It's
what it is
clicked.
you're meant to do.
Yeah, totally. And I remember, you know, last Friday when I came out of that healing workshop, I could have cried. I felt so happy, and just like this is me, and that those 10 people have sat there and listened to my instructions, and they feel good. They've come out of that session feeling good. And like, you know, one lady came in and she was a bit closed off, and I thought, oh shit, this isn't going to sit well with her at all. And you know, kind of worked through everything. You know, by the end, she was like, I got this, and, you know, I could see this. And I was like, that's amazing. I was like, that's your psychic energy coming through. Like, you're picking up stuff that's not here. Like, you're connecting. That's incredible. And just like, it's just like a face completely changed by the end of the session. It was like that.
And they leave with that belief, that positivity, that kind of having found something in themselves, cognitively, spiritually, however you want to frame it, that didn't realise there was there, didn't have. That just bleeds across everything in your life, doesn't it? Like a lift. It's
Definitely.
like lifting.
Yeah, if I could do that every day for the rest of my life, I'd be sorted.
Well, you're well on track, Annie. And listen, we're going to send people to see you, people listening to this who, you know, are intrigued and want to find out more. Where can they find you? What you got coming up? How can people find you, and where do they go?
So if you are Lincoln based, and you do want to do a healing workshop, I am around. So my friend owns a shop in Lincoln called Cultivate, which is she's a herbalist, and she has her own shop, and it's just on Grantham Street in town. And she hires it out for people that do workshops. So I did that healing workshop there last Friday. I've got another one on the 27th of March. I want to do a men's one as well, specifically for men, because I feel like there's people there that want to do it, but I think they just don't feel like they're able to come forward.
Listen, me and my four brothers would probably like to attend that.
Yeah.
That would be something really interesting to do.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting. And it's a completely different energy working with men as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. So I'll get that organised probably April, May. And yeah, email readings, I'm always around. And then Reiki's just at Go Deep. So.
Go Deep. And what about socials? People follow you on socials? And
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page, which is Annie Grace. I think it's Annie Grace Healing, but it just comes up as Annie Grace. And then I just have my Instagram, which is AG Rattigan.
Okay.
But that is flooded with pictures of my child, which I'm really sorry. I don't post anything about.
The results of your positivity.
Yes, exactly. So it's a good place for me to connect with people. And I will start doing posts that are slightly more interesting than,
Well, I think,
baby food.
people find you in your, in your vocation because they're supposed to, and it comes for how it comes. And I think,
Yeah.
you're right, that dichotomy you have about, trying to sell anything holistic or trying to promote or market anything that's kind of a feeling is really difficult.
I think it was really difficult as well because I literally thought about this 3 days ago, and I was like, okay, maybe I could do a separate profile for the spiritual stuff and then have my family and my friends and stuff on another one. And I was like, I feel like I'm splitting me in half, and that's not me. So I don't want to do that. I'm just going to start embedding the two together because that is me as a person, and I take all of that in. And I think even though my service is healing, like everything else, my friends, my family, my life, all affects me and what I do. So I don't want to keep it separate. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, Annie. It's been really, really nice. It's been a Saturday afternoon where I feel
A Saturday well spent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been great.
And as I mentioned earlier, I'm still digesting and kind of taking in what you sent me last night anyway, and having felt your energy today and kind of sharing this, it's been really, really nice. And I'm going to go back and read again tonight and sort of
thank you very much.
see what bleeds into my life.
It's been nice.
Yeah,
it's been really good.
Thank you for coming and sharing your time with us. And I will link everything in the notes there. And you take care of yourself. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Thank you for listening to Chew the Chat podcast.
Thank you for listening for Chew the Cat podcast.
Chew the cat.
I want to say my own words.
Go on then.
Very angry.
And there you go. How cool's Annie? Well, how cool is Annie and Kieran together? What a lovely, lovely couple. Lovely energy. Like I say, people who haven't maybe listened to Kieran's Rattigan's episode number 4, go back, check it out. Those guys are helping to put some really good energy back in the world. Kieran's got the float business, Go Deep, sponsors of this podcast, and obviously Annie, as you hear there, with her Reiki and with her workshops and with the card reading and just sort of, really putting out some lovely warm energy back out into the world, and having been through quite a lot together as well. Just a really inspiring pair, and it was really lovely having them in here, and I can't wait to do it again. And as for the music, I mean, again, like I said with Kieran, when we played his demo before his episode, really shocked me, the power, and it's there in for Ether as well. That guitar, that lovely slidey, rolly, bluesy guitar, that bluesy, soulful vocal from Annie, and the layers of harmony together, and there's a kind of breakthrough energy about it that I really like. I love it, and like I say, if you did dig it, then check out bands like the Civil Wars and specifically the Barton Hollow record, because it's right in line with that. But I will link their SoundCloud page in, and you can check that out, and you can drop them a message, and I think you can download them on their page, I think. But yeah, what a tune! I really enjoyed it. But Annie, really lovely girl, and made me sit back with the reading she did for me. I like I say, not sure what I believe. I just know that some people I'm around make me sort of look inside a bit, and I think that's powerful. And at the time of recording, it was just before all the lockdown and everything, and I did see Annie had to cancel some workshops and stuff. So I hope that she's finding ways, as I'm sure she is, to use the internet and Zoom, and like a lot of us are doing, and finding ways to carry on and helping people and people who need to speak and want to get things off the chest, she's there. So do check her out, and I shall link her in and hit her up. Right. Thank you so much once again, people. It's continues to be weird, but I hope wonderful in many ways. We've got to hang on to those positives, you know, a lot of time with family, a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to run and walk and ride bikes, and I still stand by it. I don't know if I've said it other than the Four Brothers, but I think if we have been blessed by the sun gods, then what a time to be blessed, because it does feel uncanny that we've had this sun, because I do feel like, you know, the kind of the darker side of this thing could have been literally that it was grey, rainy, cold, shitty, and that we couldn't really get out of our houses. And I think we might be in a completely different boat now of how we kind of partake in this lockdown. But hoping that we're on the right side of things now, and I'm sure when we look back it'll be all sorts of different and things we could and should and would do next time. But main thing is hope everybody's okay and that we learn something, you know, look after ourselves, float, you know, meditate, sleep good. You know, it doesn't need to be the airy fairy stuff, because so many of us listen to fucking meditate. I ain't got time to meditate. What are you talking about? Fucking sat meditating. What are you talking about? I've got to get this done, and that's, yeah, I get it, man. I'm there as well. But maybe we can get good sleep, and maybe we can think about some of the things that we're about to gobble up and eat that aren't going to help us out, and our immune systems are shot, and we get caught, you know, by things that we maybe we could avoid if we were a little bit better with how we care about ourselves, and everything gets into a better harmony after that. So yeah, these are crazy times. We'll be back. I'm going to be back. I'm going to say next week. I've got a couple more in the can, and it's just a case of what we can do and when. We've been doing a lot of Four Brothers because we can do that. You know, the guys, we're all brothers, we're quarantined up, we're all good, we can do that. So we maybe do that again. But I have done an episode with my brother Harry outside of Four Brothers as a Chew the Chat podcast, where we do go back and we do talk about his childhood and his journey. And that was a powerful and interesting episode, which will be a continuous one as well, because we didn't get right the way through it. So it's a really interesting first part of Harry's story. And he too is, you know, he maybe listen to this and hit Annie up himself, because times aren't great. And I think one of the repercussions of this lockdown, and, you know, we are saving people and we're protecting people and all of that, but there's a hell of a lot of people that we're not thinking about that are already struggling with anxiety, with depression, with, you know, all sorts of isolation issues of their own regard. And then this has sort of hammered in some pretty hefty nails, and I hope we don't see too much of a repercussion when we start looking at the data and we start, you know, seeing what happens after the fact. But yeah, certainly tune in for Harry's episode. It was really good fun and insightful, and I learned a lot being his brother. So yeah, listen, I'm away. Thank you to sponsors Go Deep. Thank you to Float Lab Lincoln. Check them out, do the Googles, but most of all, just take care of yourselves, because it is a crazy time, and we will see you again soon. Peace.